Welcome back, Pokemon fans. Angel of the Night here. We are back again with the Team Star Challenge, and as you guys know, this is a single battle format competition where we are to build a team around Revaroom using Team Star only Pokemon. Now, our opponent here today is going to lead off with a Houndoom, and of course we've got our mighty Lucario. Now, Lucario, of course, is a fighting steel type Pokemon, whereas the Houndoom is a dark fire type. So right off the bat, I can tell you that we are at a bit of a disadvantage if that Pokemon can actually attack first. If we get hit by any kind of a fire-based move, we are done for. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to go in for the Terrestrialization. We're going to go into a pure fighting type, and then we're going to go for the Vacuum Wave. Now, Vacuum Wave, of course, being priority, we should be able to hit the Houndoom before it can hit us, and then it goes ahead and pulls off this play, which is actually a Tera change into pure Fairy. Now, if you guys know anything about typings, Fairy typing actually is capable of resisting the fighting type moves, and as well is also super effective. So let's just see how much damage this Vacuum Wave is actually going to be able to do. It is a priority-based move. I believe it only does about 40 damage if I'm not mistaken, but I am under a Life Orb, so it might actually give it a little bit more. But as you can see, it only does a little bit of chip damage here. So Houndoom is actually going to go in for the Tera Blast, which is actually a pure Fairy-based move. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it does about 80-ish damage, if I'm not mistaken. So that's just going to annihilate our Lucario here. If I manage to actually stay in as just like a fighting Steel-type Pokemon, I might have actually been able to survive a little bit more. Now, I do have two Pokemon with me here as well. You guys know one of them is going to be Revaroom. The other one is going to be Krookodile. Now, I did end up going into Krookodile because it is the stronger of the two Pokemon. Realistically, I probably should have gone in for Revaroom because it had the type advantage in Steel as well as Poison, but I was kind of hoping that I was going to be able to outspeed the Houndoom. Unfortunately, not the case. We are going to get hit by a Tera Blast, and that is just going to be able to one-hit knock out our Krookodile. Last Pokemon onto the team, of course, is floating on the air balloon. You guys know what it is. That is the Revaroom. So Revaroom, of course, coming in, our nice, shiny, Steel Poison-type Pokemon. And, of course, we're actually going to go in for the Gunk Shot here. Now, if I can manage to actually get a hit off onto this Houndoom, we might be able to take it out because of the pure Fairy type. But they are going to withdraw the Houndoom and come in with a Toxapex. Now, Toxapex is a very bulky Pokemon, very high in defensive values, but it is also water and poison. So right now I can tell you that that Gunk Shot did absolutely nothing. There was also no possibility of poisoning it. So I'm just going to go in for the Shift Gear here, and I'm going to try to raise up my attack stat as well as my speed stat. If I can get some damage off onto this thing with a boosted attack stat, we might potentially be able to take it out. However, we are going to get a little chip damage away from our health because of the Toxapex, and I'm going to go in for a second Shift Gear. Now, one thing that I did not take into consideration here when I was battling Toxapex is the fact that it can get Haze. If you guys know anything about the move Haze, it actually goes through and resets all stat changes. So it doesn't really help me out here when I'm trying to take out this Toxapex. I did manage to go in and try to get another Shift Gear, maybe just trying to get at least one, and then maybe try to get some damage the next turn. But as you guys know, Toxapex does get Recover, and that is going to be a bit of an issue here for us going forward, because any kind of damage that I manage to get off onto this Toxapex, it is going to basically try to regain back with Recover. Now, I did get another attack in here. We went for the high horsepower. That's going to play on the factor of the poison typing. And then, of course, the Toxapex has gone for the Haze, which actually resets my stats again. So, I'm going back in for another Shift Gear here. I'm kind of trying to bait them a little bit, just trying to get some stats back. And as you can see here, they're going to go for another Recover. Now, every time that you use Recover, it's never going back to 100%. You're always going to have a little bit of chip damage every turn. So, we are going to try to go for another high horsepower here, and then instead of going for another Shift Gear, we're going to try to trick it into going for another Haze the next turn. So that way we can maybe try to get another high horsepower off onto it. So let's kind of see what we can get going here. As you can see, I did not go for the Shift Gear this turn. They are probably going to predict that we're going to go for a Shift Gear here at some point, but luckily for us, we actually managed to outspeed it because of the two differences in the Pokemon. We actually have a higher base speed, if I'm not mistaken. So we managed to get that high horsepower off. We're able to take out that Toxapex. However, we're not in a very good position here because we actually have very, very low health to the Revaroom. So the next Pokemon that's going to come in, I'm thinking is going to be Houndoom. That's pretty much the smart play here. It is a very fast Pokemon, and it can get like a fire-based move. So in this situation here, they actually end up joking with me, going for the Dark Pulse, knocking us out, and that is the match. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, you know what to do. Hit that like button, post your comments. I will see you guys next time. Peace out.